I'm getting rid of all the VHS tapes. So I watched Mr. Crocket, okay, on Hulu. You know, I am not one of those overly critical YouTube movie reviewers, and I'm not saying there's anything bad with them, but that's not me. You know, I feel like a lot of them are more critical of their movie reviews, and I enjoy them. You know, I enjoy a good critique, but I think there needs to be some balance, and I am offering some balance. So, okay, I'm gonna say this. I just want to say, I loved Mr. Crocket. Okay, now, was it a perfect horror movie? It was not a perfect horror movie. It absolutely was not. Okay, were there some editing choices that I feel could have been better? Some acting choices that I think could have been better? Absolutely. Some production choices that I think could have been better? Absolutely. Okay, but listen, Linda, all right? I loved this movie, okay? It was something about this horror movie, okay? Obviously, it's a black horror film, but something about it felt super fucking black. And for that, I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you, okay? It takes place in the 90s. 93, 94, and it really just delivered that feel, that 90s feel, that 90s vibe, you know what I mean? And I really just love that so much. They really nailed that. I feel like they had great music, really eerie music. I feel like they had creepy, cool visuals. Yeah, again, something about this film just felt so black ass. You know, it could be that the entire cast was black, but even aside from that, it's not just having black characters, it's like a feel, you know, it's like a vibe, you know, so I really just love that. So Mr. Crocket takes place in, again, the 90s in Pennsylvania, and Mr. Crocket is the host of a sing-along show called Mr. Crockett's World, all right? We first see Mr. Crockett's World VHS tape being watched by a little boy in Pennsylvania, and you know, that shit is just creepy right away. That shit is so creepy from the jump. Like, I am not... let me start watching that shit. I will turn it off, okay? It is not giving Mr. Rogers. So, the first kid is watching the VHS of Mr. Crocket. And he has a very horrible fucking stepfather. Like very toxic, you know, stepfather, and overly masculine, and just he's horrible. And so Mr. Crocket pretty much kills his ass. Mr. Crocket said, absolutely not. He said, off with your head, out with your guts. And from there, Mr. Crocket took this young boy. And so his mother is left grieving, and she ends up homeless, and she is just not well. All right, so we then go to a new child, Major, and Major just lost his father, right? So he just lost his father, and his mother and him are grieving. I mean, he's not really grieving. Like, Major's kind of like a little badass, all right? At the funeral, Major was playing, like, what was it, like Game Boy back in the day, or the little handheld Sega? He was playing that. And so he didn't seem like he really cared, but he did. And his father was a football coach, a little league football coach. And he really says that he misses his father. And his mother gives him his father's whistle. And so she says to just blow this, you know, when you think about him, she said, and I'll always come and I'll always be there. All right. So Mr. Crocket, I just want to say this. Mr. Crocket comes when, you know, parents are bad to their kids, and he comes and rescues them from their horrible parents. But Major's mother, Summer, I don't feel like she was a bad mother. You know, she wasn't like that toxic ass stepfather in the beginning, you know, so I don't know. But Summer, Major's mother, Summer, receives a VHS tape, Mr. Crocket, his sing-along in the mail mysteriously, and she gives it to Major to watch. And it's like once the kids start watching, they are hypnotized, okay, by this video. We then see another scenario with a little girl, and she's watching, and then like there's like some troubles with the TV. And so she goes to the living room to tell her very drugged up father, and he just like flips out on her, and he's like, look, you just got to deal with it. It's just for one night, you know. And he was very aggressive, and he yelled at her, and Mr. Crocket was not having that shit. Okay, Mr. Crocket pulled up, and he executed this little girl's father. And so now this little girl is a part of Mr. Crockett's world. Okay, so the little boy who was taken in the beginning and, you know, away from his evil stepfather, his name is Darren, and his mother's name is Rhonda. And so Rhonda, she like shows up. She's homeless now, and she showed up to Major and his mother Summer's house during the father's funeral. And she's like, you got to be aware of Mr. Crocket. And they're like, bitch, get your crazy ass out of here. Said, bitch, we don't know you. Okay, so Summer, Major's mother, she's noticing that Major is getting a little hooked on this Mr. Crocket sing-along. And so she's like, enough. Okay, and she like destroys the TV, and then she encounters Mr. Crockett's crazy ass, and he scared the shit out of her, out of the both of us. And so that night, Mr. Crocket takes Major, okay, and he's like taking them into like his little world of sorts. And, you know, it's just... It is really creepy. Like, that's another thing I really liked about this movie, is that Mr. Crocket is scary. He is scary. Okay, we're not gonna play. All right. So basically, Summer, Major's mother, she finds out that Mr. Crocket was killed years ago. All right, for an attempt to kidnap a child named Anthony. And he is like Freddy Krueger, where he has come back and he is taking these kids. All right. He was killed by the cops. And so Summer runs into a very handsome gentleman named Eddie Briggs. And he says that his child Lauren is missing. And so they work together. And then they come across Rhonda. And, you know, Rhonda, you know, she's been going through a lot since her son has been taken. And so they work together, and Rhonda has like TV systems. She has like TV sets set up in a tent, you know, because she's homeless and she can connect with Mr. Crockett's mind. All right, but only to an extent. And so she sees that he's doing a lot of heavy thinking. She sees that he's frustrated, and we see his story where he battled with a lot of self-doubt while breaking into television, or trying to break into television. And so while Rhonda is tapped into his mind, she sees an address. And so Eddie Briggs and Summer and Rhonda all go to this address. And Rhonda ends up getting stabbed by Mr. Crocket. Then that's when Eddie Briggs, and Summer go to the basement, and they see the kids down there. And Mr. Crocket tells his story about how he was abused as a child, and he killed his father, and ever since he just wanted to protect kids. And so he pretty much made a deal with the devil, okay, very much Spawn-like. And he basically told the devil that he'll bring the souls of these parents to hell. And he would have like his own like dimension, his own like world in hell. So that's where he's been bringing the kids, and he tells this story. And then Eddie Briggs, get this, Eddie Briggs is like obsessed with Mr. Crocket, and it turns out Eddie Briggs is Anthony from Mr. Crocket's story. So Mr. Crocket, well, Anthony is the kid that Mr. Crocket kidnapped, and now he's an adult. And Anthony thought that Mr. Crocket was going to be like, yes, I'm glad you're here, girl. Mr. Crocket clowned his ass. He said, you are a loser, girl. You have done nothing with your life. So Mr. Crockett's evil ass Muppets ends up killing Anthony, aka Eddie Briggs. And so now it's just, it's down to Summer, okay? And Summer is like, God damn it. And she's like talking to her son Major, who is very much hypnotized. And she's like, look, I need you to come and help me. And Mr. Crockett gave Major the opportunity to decide if he wants to go with his mother or Mr. Crockett. So he pretty much chose Mr. Crockett. And Mr. Crockett sends all the kids after Summer, and they're attempting to kill her. And then she has Major's father's whistle and starts blowing it. And so that snaps Major out of the hypnotism of Mr. Crockett. And so Major gets a hold of Mr. Crockett's magic marker that allows him to control the children. And so he gives it to his mom, and Summer uses it as like a laser, and she like slices Mr. Crockett in half. And so all the kids, they all escape, and Mr. Crockett is sliced in half, but he's still crawling and still talking. So everything is back to normal. Summer's spending more time with Major, and she gets a call from the school, and she goes to the school, and they're like, the kids are afraid of Major because he's telling this story about this scary ass man, coming to get them. And so we see that Major is still kind of hypnotized by Mr. Crockett. All right, now listen, I love this movie. Okay, I do think it was scary. It had its scary moments. I thought Mr. Crockett was scary. I don't know the actor who played him. I think all of the actors were like up and coming actors in this film. There were no like big stars in this film, but I thought they were all great. Again, I think there were some choices that could have been different, but overall, I think they were great. I think the actress who played Summer was amazing, and the actress who played Rhonda, I thought she was amazing. The actor who played Mr. Crockett was great. I thought he was so scary. I enjoyed Mr. Crockett on Hulu, and I absolutely recommend it. Okay, you can go and argue with your cat. I loved it. Of course, there's a lot to critique here, but I thought it was a well done black horror film, and I'm just so happy and thankful for the growing black horror genre. And we know that Jordan Peele had a big part to play in that, and so I'm just really thankful, and I recommend Mr. Crockett.